The Forbidden Chamber. The drilling team didn't expect to find anything that day. They were working on VL-6, a quiet mining moon far from any known war or danger. The machines buzzed, digging through ancient stone. It was a routine day until the ground cracked open. A loud boom echoed through the canyon. One of the diggers stopped, staring down into a black hole that wasn't there before. "Sir, we found something." The commander of the site, an old alien with tired eyes, walked forward. He looked into the hole. It was wide, deep and dark, like it was hiding something. Strange air rose from it, cold and dry. "Lower a drone," he ordered. The drone floated down into the pit. Its camera showed a chamber. The walls were smooth, not made by nature. Something or someone had built this. At the center of the chamber they saw it. A stone table. On the table lay 3 scrolls, glowing, ancient, untouched by time. The team stared at the screen. "No one ever lived here," whispered the technician. "This moon was dead when we got here." "But someone was here before us," the commander said. "And they left a warning. They sent a small team down." The chamber was cold, too cold for any normal life. But the scrolls gave off a strange heat. One of them picked it up. It didn't burn, but it hummed like it was alive. They brought the scrolls to the research lab. 2 days later, a linguist arrived from the science fleet. She had spent her life studying lost languages. "This is not one of our languages," she said. "It's much older." She studied the scroll for hours. Then she spoke just one line. It says, "The fire-blooded ones will return. And when they do, the stars will shake." Everyone in the room went silent. "Who are the fire-blooded ones?" the commander asked. The linguist looked up slowly. "Humans." The room got colder. Everyone had heard of humans. But they were just stories now. Tales of a violent species that disappeared ages ago. No one had seen a real human in thousands of cycles. "They're extinct," someone said. "Long gone." The linguist shook her head. "This scroll was placed here on purpose. It was waiting for us. But why warn us about humans?" the commander asked. She answered, "Because they are not gone. Not completely." Later that night, strange things began to happen. The scrolls started glowing brighter. One of the guards said he heard whispers coming from them. "Voices," he said, "speaking in a language I don't know." At first no one believed him. But then the base lost power. Lights flickered, screens went black. The scrolls were still, glowing. Then a line of code appeared on the main monitor. Simple, short, and cold. "We remember." Panic filled the room. Engineers tried to shut it down, but nothing worked. The message stayed on every screen, like it was watching them. They tried to contact the central command. No response. Communications were silent. That night, a storm came to VL-6. Lightning with no clouds. Thunder with no sound. In the morning, the linguist found something new. Another line on the scroll had changed. The letters rearranged. "Now," it said, "if you read this, it's already begun." The commander stared at it. "What's begun?" She didn't answer. She was staring at something else. One of the scrolls had started to burn from the inside. But no flames, no smoke, only symbols floating in the air above it, glowing red. It showed the image of a warship, an old design. Not alien, not modern, human. Everyone stared at it. None of their records had a ship like that. "What is this?" the commander asked. "The Q," linguist whispered. "A Terran battleship." "But that can't be," the technician said. "Those ships haven't been seen for thousands of years. They were myths." Then came the final message, displayed across every system. "We warned you once. This time we watch." And with that, the scrolls went dark. The forbidden chamber had been opened. And now, something ancient had awakened. The research base on VL-6 had gone quiet. After the scrolls went dark, the scientists and officers were left shaken. The image of the ancient Terran battleship still haunted their minds. None of them had ever seen such a design before, and no one could explain how a long-dead human ship appeared on their monitors. In the center of the lab, the linguist sat alone with one scroll. Although its glow had faded, something inside it still pulsed, like a hidden signal. She ordered complete silence. The room emptied. Plugging the scroll into a data scanner, she watched the feed. Strange lines of code appeared. Not alien, not familiar. It was binary. Her heart stopped. "It's human," she whispered. The code began to move on its own, faster and faster until her screen flickered, then froze. Then, sound. A faint voice. Old. Distorted. But real. "If you have found this, then your sky will soon turn black." She pressed record. The message was coming directly from the scroll. "You are not the first to ignore the warning. You will not be the last." Then, silence. The scroll cracked down the middle. Dust leaked from its core, but the voice remained etched into the recording. She immediately called the commander. When he arrived and heard the message, his face turned pale. "That's a human voice." Across the galaxy, on a floating archive station, another discovery was made. An ancient data stone buried in cold storage had just activated for the first time in 2,000 cycles. The signal it gave off matched the one found in the scroll. Young analyst working the night shift pulled up the logs. It was a digital map. Star systems, one by one, blinked in red. They all formed a spiral, and at the center of that spiral was a single star. Earth. Or what used to be Earth. Back on Vale 6, the commander made a decision. He sent a request to Central Command, urging them to send a warship. Not for battle, but protection. The scroll had mentioned watchers. If they were being watched, they needed to be ready. But it was already too late. The surveillance satellite in orbit had picked up something, an object, slowly drifting toward them. At first it looked like an asteroid, but it was changing direction. "It's not a rock," said the technician. "It's powered. It's scanning us." "Show me a visual," the commander ordered. The screen changed. A dark shape filled the view. No lights, no markings, but everyone knew what it was. A ship. Old, huge, and human. They tried hailing it. No answer. They sent drones. They vanished. Then, without warning, the station's lights went out again and the voice returned. This time it wasn't a recording. "Do not search what was buried. Do not chase what you do not understand." The voice echoed across every speaker, every device. The linguist shook with fear. "It knows we're listening." Suddenly, the base's computers began to change. Files deleted, records scrambled, power shut down, one system at a time. Someone, or something, was inside their network. In the sky, the black ship moved. "Closer," one of the guards shouted. "It's entering atmosphere." Panic spread through the base. The commander gave the evacuation order, but as they ran toward the launch bays, the sky turned red. A sonic wave knocked everyone to the ground. The ship had landed, silently just over the ridge. But no doors opened. No soldiers came out. It just sat there as if watching, as if waiting. The commander stared through the observation window. "What does it want?" The linguist stood beside him, her voice shaking. "I don't think it wants war." "Then why is it here?" She looked down at the cracked scroll and answered, "To remind us." Far away, in deep space, signals began to ping across old Terran frequencies. Every empire, every power, started receiving the same line in their systems. The Watchers have returned. The Galactic Council met in silence. Inside a chamber the size of a city, thousands of delegates sat in tiers that rose like mountains. The air was heavy, not from heat, but from fear. At the center, a massive hologram hovered above the table. It showed the Terran ship, black, ancient, and alive, still sitting silently on the surface of Vale 6. "This thing has not moved in 2 cycles, the first voice of the council said. "It does not need to," replied another delegate. "It knows we are watching." The silence returned. No one in the chamber wanted to be the first to say it. But everyone knew. Humanity, once feared and erased from history, was returning. A senior analyst stood before the council. She was pale, her hands shaking as she loaded a file into the main screen. "It's not just Vale 6, she said. 12 more systems have reported black ships. Same shape. No signals, no aggression, just watching." "Are they human?" someone finally asked. "No records confirm, but they match old Terran warship designs, ships thought lost before the Great Silence." The council's screens filled with images, ships orbiting gas giants, moons, even abandoned stations. No weapons fired, no demands made. "They don't speak," said the analyst. "But they leave messages." "What kind of messages?" She zoomed into a new image. Strange symbols burned into the surface of a planet, carved across an entire desert. Translated, it read, "We remember the silence." Back on Vale 6, the Terran ship had not opened. The research base was quiet. Half the crew had left. Only the commander, the linguist, and a few guards remained. They stayed because of what they found, new data in the scrolls. One line had changed again. "You erased us. Now we return from between the stars." The linguist sat at her desk, decoding, faster than she ever had. The scroll seemed alive now, responding to her thoughts. She whispered, "They were never gone, just hidden." "Where?" the commander asked. She looked up, fear in her eyes. "In the black space, between known stars, places we don't map." Suddenly the lights flickered again. But this time, no power failure. A hologram appeared in the center of the room. Not human, not alien. It was a voice, a presence, a shadow, made of data. "You opened the gate." The voice was male, calm, ancient. "Who are you?" the commander asked. "You called us myth. You buried our name. You taught your young that Terrans were a mistake." The commander stood firm. "And what do you want now?" "To see who dares rule in our place." The voice faded, but one last message remained, glowing on every screen. "You will speak to your council, or we will." Back in the council chamber, panic spread. The message had reached them too. The image of the Terran ship wasn't just a threat, it was an announcement. "They know where we are," said one elder. "They have always known." One faction stood and demanded war, another called for surrender. But the council did what it always did in fear. They delayed, they chose silence. But the humans had already warned what happened last time. Silence ruled the stars. At the edge of known space, a sensor station picked up something impossible. A fleet, a Terran fleet, not 12 ships, not 100, over 12,000 warships, decloaking, appearing like ghosts across the galaxy. No sound, no message, just presence, watching, waiting, remembering. The eye, stars were no longer empty. 12,000 Terran warships had appeared across the galaxy. Silent, motionless, waiting like shadows. Every empire, colony, and outpost saw them. They were massive, floating relics of a war no one remembered but everyone feared. They did not broadcast. They did not attack. They watched. At a deep space outpost near the edge of the Yoran Nebula, a mining crew spotted one of the ships. It hovered above an old gas station that hadn't been used in centuries. The crew sent a drone to investigate. The drone never came back. Instead, a single line appeared on their communication console. "You mined worlds we buried." Across the galaxy, military leaders scrambled for answers. On the Zari homeworld, defense ministers argued over what to do. Some demanded immediate strikes. Others feared provoking an ancient force. "We don't even know if they're alive," one shouted. "They are alive," said an old historian in the room. "The scrolls called them the sleepers. Machines around them sleep. But inside those hulls is memory, and memory never dies." He pointed at a glowing map filled with red marks, Everywhere the Terran ships had appeared, they're not attacking, they're reclaiming. Back on Vale 6, the commander and the linguist were still decoding. The ancient scroll now pulsed every time a new Terran ship appeared. A pattern emerged. Coordinates. Each ship was positioned above a world where the old alliances had committed something dark. Wars, mass erasures, the rewriting of history. They're not here by chance, the linguist said. They're making a map of guilt. Suddenly, a new message appeared on every screen in the base. The sky does not forget. Moments later, every station across the galaxy received it too. In a hidden chamber beneath the council hall, a few leaders met in secret. The true history was brought out, sealed records from the human purge. They had hidden it for generations. The files revealed how the galaxy once feared humans. Because they evolved too fast, adapted too well, and refused control. So the old empires united. They struck first, hard. Humanity vanished, or so they thought. Now they're back, one elder said. And they haven't fired a shot. Yet we're already panicking. Another replied, because we remember what they were capable of. A new report came in. The Terran ships had changed formation. They weren't random anymore. They formed a giant ring across the outer edge of the galaxy, as if circling it, as if warning it. On Vial 6, the linguist found the next phrase buried in the scroll. We hold the line until truth is spoken. She looked up. They're waiting for someone to admit the lie. At that moment, one of the ships moved. The galaxy froze. It wasn't much, just a slight rotation, but it broke the pattern. Then a signal came from that ship. Not a warning, not a threat. It was a video feed. In the center of the galaxy, the council saw it on their screens. A human face. Old, scarred, eyes like burning stars. He spoke slowly, with calm force. This is not vengeance. This is memory. You buried us once. We will not rise in violence unless you choose silence again. The feed ended. 12,000 ships waited for an answer. The stars held their breath. The message from the Terran commander echoed across the galaxy. This is not vengeance. This is memory. No one spoke after the feed ended. Every leader, every officer, every citizen. They watched their screens in silence, unsure if the next moment would bring war or something worse. On the council world, the high chamber doors locked automatically. Emergency lights glowed red. Each council member received the same command: decide, talk, or remain silent. Meanwhile, in the Deep Space Research Base on Vale 6, the linguist stared at the scroll. It had changed again, but this time, not in words. Map had formed. It was the galaxy, marked with glowing dots. Each dot matched the location of a Terran ship, but one dot blinked faster, near the galactic core. The commander leaned closer. What is that? The linguist whispered. The origin. Far away, inside one of the Terran warships, something stirred. No life signs, no crew movement, but deep inside its core, old systems came online. Not weapons, memories, holograms of old. Earth cities, lost humans laughing, children playing under alien skies. The sounds of music, rain, peace. Then came images of fire, war, the moment the rest of the galaxy turned on them. And finally, silence. The ship had been waiting, watching, for someone to say, we were wrong. In a hidden archive on the Terran, homeworld, a young scholar broke protocol. She released the old records. Thousands of files flooded the galactic net. Images, text, proof. Proof that it was the Council who struck first. That humans had tried to form peace. That their only crime was being too unpredictable. Billions watched in horror. The lie was undone. Ships across the stars powered down weapons. Citizens demanded answers. Old monuments were torn down. New voices rose. We must answer them. We must speak. No more silence. On Vel 6, the sky changed. The black Terran warship above the planet finally moved. Not toward the base. Upward. Slowly, silently, it rose into the stars, joining the others. The base screens blinked. Another message appeared. One spoke. The rest must follow. The linguist turned to the commander. They're not here for war. They're here for truth. Back at the council, the first voice stood at last. His voice echoed through the chamber and across the galaxy. We lied. We feared what we did not control. And in our fear, we erased. We turned humans into ghosts. But they remembered. He looked at the camera. We are sorry. 12,000 warships responded. They lit up, one by one, with soft blue light. Not red, not weapons, peace. And then, they vanished. Not cloaked, not jumped. Gone. As if they had only come to hear the truth. But one ship remained, the same ship from Vial 6. It left behind a capsule. Inside it, a new scroll with only one line. The stars remember who speaks and who stays silent. The last Terran ship hovered in the silence above Vial 6. 12,000 others had vanished like mist, gone without a trace. No engines, no sound, no explanation. But this one, it stayed, and beneath it, the capsule it left behind was now open. Inside was the scroll, and something else. A small crystal cube glowing with soft blue light. The linguist picked it up carefully. It felt warm, almost alive. The commander stood beside her, silent, waiting. As she touched the cube, the air shimmered. A hologram appeared, faint, flickering. It was Earth, not the Earth of now, but the one before the purge. Lush, alive, free. Cities floated above oceans. Children with wide eyes played in gravity-free parks. Humans stood beside aliens, working, smiling, dreaming. It was not a war message. It was a memory. Every major system across the galaxy received a similar cube. They appeared inside starbases outside capital cities in orbit over moon colonies. No message, just light. When touched, each showed something different. Old peace treaties, friendly exchanges. Human-built ships gifted to allies. Smiles, tears, hope, and always at the end, fire. The purge. The scroll beside the cube now read, "We were not just warriors. We were dreamers." On the council world, the first voice wept. He stood again before the galaxy. We erased their story, but they did not erase us. They kept it all. Every moment, every hope, even when we gave them only pain. He looked out the chamber window, at the stars. Now, they are reminding us what we were. On Vial 6, the Terran ship moved again, but not to leave. It opened. For the first time in living history, a Terran battleship opened its gate. A long stairway extended from its dark underbelly. At the bottom, nothing stepped out. Only a whisper came through. "Send one who remembers. We will speak." The linguist looked at the commander. "They want a witness, someone who knows both sides." He nodded. "It has to be you." She climbed the stairway alone. Every step echoed. The walls of the ship hummed, pulsing with blue veins of light. No one greeted her, no voice, no sound, just the feeling that she was being watched. She entered a grand chamber, empty, except for a single seat. When she sat, the room came alive. Holograms surrounded her. Not of war, of conversation. A human child trading seeds with a reptilian merchant. A Terran captain laughing with a feline commander. A galactic council chamber where humans once sat, and then silence. The last scene showed humans walking away. Doors closing, stars fading, and finally, a single message glowing in the air. If we vanish again, it will not be in hate. It will be in sadness. The linguist wept. She understood. When she returned from the ship, the scroll had changed one final time. The stars remember those who listen. You listened. The ship lifted. One blink, and it too was gone. All across the galaxy, the Terran memory crystals kept playing. They would not stop. Not until every world knew the truth. The stars had grown quiet, but the memory crystals still glowed across the galaxy, never fading, never breaking. Some systems tried to shut them down. They failed. Some tried to destroy them. The light returned brighter. You couldn't erase truth. And now that truth was everywhere. Children across colonies asked their teachers, "Why did we fear them?" Old warriors stood by the crystals, remembering battles they never understood. And in the grand halls of history, alien scholars rewrote the past. Books once filled with warnings now spoke of lost friendships, of the time before the purge, of humans who had brought hope and vanished. On a small moon called Virex, something new happened. A Terran signal, unknown frequency, was picked up. It wasn't a threat, it wasn't a warning, it was music. Soft. Melancholy. Human. The kind that made listeners stop whatever they were doing, because it came with an image. A human standing at the edge of a cliff, staring at the stars. No weapons, just eyes full of wonder. And at the bottom of the image, a line of text. We never left. We were watching, waiting, hoping. At the council core, a new motion was passed. Not just an apology, not just a remembrance. Promise. A signal was sent across every sector. If you hear us, come home. Then something impossible happened. At once, across over 100 systems, ancient warships powered on. Not human-controlled, automated, but they didn't attack. They didn't move toward targets. Instead, they projected. Across the skies, onto clouds, station walls, mountain peaks. Words appeared. The test was not of strength. It was of memory. And now you remember. People gathered beneath the glowing messages. Civilians wept. Soldiers saluted. Leaders stood silent, humbled. The humans hadn't come to conquer. They had come to teach, to remind the stars what peace once looked like, and to show what silence could cost. On Vial 6, the linguist stood alone where the Terran ship had vanished. The last scroll in her hands shimmered. The words changed one final time. The galaxy will forget again. That is its curse. But there will always be one who remembers. That one is enough. She smiled, tears in her eyes. She turned to the stars and whispered, "We remember." Far, far away, beyond any known system, a single Terran battleship floated in the void, dark, silent. Inside, a soft blue light blinked, waiting, watching, hoping. Because in the cold silence of the galaxy, someone had finally listened. The end.